Welcome everybody to the final episode of Bounce Off for this, the summer season 6 of SlamBall. That's right, Bounce Off, the number one SlamBall podcast, our final episode of summer season 6 as we wrap up the finals last night. And if you're looking at the title for this episode, you're going to see that we finished with a mob victory. 18-0, the perfect season. We'll talk about last night's matchups. This will be the fastest episode we've done all season because I'm bad at time management. But I'm going to talk about the games. We're going to talk about both semi-finals in order and then the main event finals matchup. The notes I took weren't as extensive as previous games, and the reason for that is because I was just watching it as a fan, with some notes being taken at the side, live tweeting what I was seeing, having a lot of fun with it. This sport has been so great to cover. Whether you think I've done a good job or not, I've tried my best to be the number one analyst in the sport of SlamBall, in a space where no one else was trying to do that at the stage that I was doing it. I've watched so much film of previous seasons, I've pored over data from the current season, I've looked at strengths and weaknesses, and I've tried to understand the game better than, like I said early on, and like I will continue to say, better than anyone else that has either never been involved in the sport or isn't currently involved in the sport. And I think in a lot of ways I've achieved that. But the only reason I'm here talking about it is because of great people that have helped me along the way. That's the same for life anywhere. But for this in particular, I put out a thank you on Twitter. It'll be going up on my Instagram as soon as I get an opportunity today. But I wanted to say it here and now as well. I want to say a big thank you to a number of people. First of all, Coach Hernando Planels of the Buzzsaw, who we didn't always see eye to eye all season, but you challenged my ideas and you made me better as an analyst and someone looking at the game, made me have to back up what I was saying. And by giving me my first interview, without me even reaching out to you, you were able to give me a level of, I've said it literally over and over and over again, and now I can't even remember the word. And that's a real piece of shame on my part. But Coach Planels, in giving me my first interview, gave me a certain level of credibility. There you go. Did you realize I just went and checked Twitter to realize what I said because my brain's a mess after all the action last night? He gave me a certain level of credibility that I'm always going to be grateful for. Gave me the confidence to realize, no, this is something I can do. I can interview other people. I've done interviews before. My background is in journalism to an extent. But sometimes you need a reminder that you're good at something and that there's a space for you in the space you're trying to make. And I wouldn't have realised that to my fullest extent here with SlamBall if it hadn't been for Coach Planel. So thank you for giving me that confidence to interview other people and to continue on with this project of Bounce Off. Thank you to Tony Feudo of Odds Jam, who we interviewed earlier in the season. A lot of you don't know this. SlamBall is not internationally distributed. There was a point in time where I wouldn't have been able to watch any SlamBall games this season because they do not have an international distribution deal here. Now, I don't want to go into the specifics because that's just bad form, but I wouldn't have been able to watch any live SlamBall games at one point in the season if it wasn't for Tony Feudo of Odds Jam. So thank you, Tony, for seeing me again as someone with legitimacy in this sport and wanting to support me going forward with this project. Could not have done it without Tony Feudo. So if you're ever looking for odds advice, go to Odds Jam, go to him. Go to the advice that he's got. And if you just want to talk SlamBall, go to him as well because he loves the sport as much as I do. On that, thank you to Coach Bayer and Craig Skistimus, who saw value in what I was bringing with Bounce Off and approached me about doing This Week in SlamBall. I've been really lucky that I've got two great minds who are calm, cool and collected and want to talk about this amazing sport while also having experience in it. That's such a benefit to me for learning, but for our audience here on Bounce Off to be able to understand the sport a little bit more rather than just hearing me talk about it. You get to see what I know compared to other people, and you get to see the knowledge base of guys who've actually been involved in this thing. Thank you to the SlamBall PR team, without which I wouldn't be able to get all the information I have done this season. They've been a massive help. And a credit to what they're doing in terms of having information that I can ask them about. And thank you to them for just being forthcoming, understanding what I'm trying to do here, and knowing that it's in the best interest of the league to have someone like me that can talk about these things publicly. And of course, with that comes thanks to every coach and every player, both that I interviewed, but also that just takes part in this sport, literally putting their bodies on the line in order to make this thing happen. Going the extra mile of of getting involved in this sport and putting themselves out there to be critiqued by people like me, but by anyone, and to just be involved in this brand. You think, thank you to them for taking that leap of faith with SlamBall, or else we wouldn't be able to talk about it now. Like I said, thank you to everyone who let me interview them, who again gave me further credibility by lending me their voice and their knowledge and their information about the league, whether it be Connor Hollenbeck, Cam Horton, Keenan Love, Brendan Kirsch, Darian Slade, J. Ton Williams, Ty McGee. All of these were really important milestones in developing what we have here at Bounce Off, and I wouldn't be able to do this stuff again without their support and without them understanding what I'm trying to do here. So thank you to everyone involved there. And lastly, and biggest of all from my perspective, obviously, thank you to those who have tuned into any episodes of this show. If you're new here and this is the first episode you've listened to, this is 6 minutes of me thanking a bunch of people you don't necessarily care about. I appreciate you for listening through. If you've listened since episode 1, thank you for that as well. Being able to say that I'm the best at this thing doesn't happen unless I have some level of viewership. These things can only go up. I've been involved in other projects in the past that haven't had this level of consistency, haven't had this level of growth, haven't had this level of engagement on social media, and I'm really pleased that that's what we've been able to do with Bounce Off, and hopefully we'll continue to do as we come to next summer season 7, and, you know, whatever else the league may throw at us. But before I can talk about all those things, again, massive thank you to everyone I mentioned there. And if I've not mentioned you and you feel like you deserve a pat on the back, please pat yourself on the back for it, because I am not here without you. So thank you very much. When it comes to last night's matchups, like I say, this will be a whirlwind through the 3 games, because I was taking notes as a fan. Still took a bunch of notes. Still took a lot of notes. Might have found a different way to take notes for next season. But I was more trying to watch as a fan than I was as an analyst last night, because this is what we were waiting for all season. This is the playoff semis and finals. The semi-final matchups are probably the 2 best games of SlamBall we had all season, right? That's not to disparage teams that have already been knocked out. That's not anything against teams that went out in the quarterfinals. But this was the 4 highest level teams, right, going against each other with everything on the line. Coach Baer said on This Week in SlamBall that semi-finals are harder to win than finals. That was proven last night with how tough these 2 games were. The main event matchup, the finals, not as entertaining from a nerd standpoint than the first 2, but a valuable reminder of why we've got the Mob as champions, okay? Why they've come this far and dominated so much that they have done. So match 1 on the night, Buzzsaw versus Slashers. Buzzsaw lose 56-60. We talked a lot this season about the Buzzsaw offense needing to kick up a gear in order to get wins. Coach Baer mentioned that on Tuesday with This Week in SlamBall. The Slashers came out gunning, hard, fast, going straight at Ty Scott. Ty Scott, the defense for the Buzzsaw is not in question. I've already eaten the crow when it comes to Ty Scott. He did a really good job in this game, as I've said all season, taking on single drives, taking on single cuts. But there comes a point where that just is a lot to handle. And guys going at you constantly with great pace and out of left, right, and centre is a lot to deal with at the stopper position. The Slasher took advantage of that. They also took advantage of the fact that one man cannot stop a 2-person wing bottom tramp cut alone either. And Taekwon was getting beat on that. Again, that's not on him entirely. That's an impossible play to stop to a degree. Maybe we'll do a breakdown of that. Maybe we can do that in the off season. And I'll talk about why it's so hard to do and what it means from like a fan perspective to see it, but then hopefully get some advice from coaches as well and see what they think. But that's really hard offense to stop, and he was struggling with that. He needed a little bit more perimeter help, especially in that first half, that first quarter. He had good numbers on the night. Ty Scott had good numbers. He ended with 8 stops and 3 LBRs according to the stat sheet. I'm now even more disenfranchised with the stat sheet after last night, when I was just watching as a fan and then looking at the stats after and go, that doesn't really line up. We talked about the offense was the biggest thing for them and that they needed to get offensive consistency, the Buzz, in order to get a win. They were down 33-25 at halftime, and their leading scorer was Jamal Barnes Jr., who had 14 points. He ended the night with only 17 points. You cannot have a second half with only 3 points if you're the guy who is supposed to be the leading scorer on this team. I don't know if internally that's what their decision making is, but he always seems like the guy that's getting them the most points. Either him or Ralph Bellamy, okay? And every other player on this team scored at least 5 points, apart from Ty Scott, obviously. The problem is it was the same for the Slashers. Every single person on the Slashers was contributing as well. The Buzz offense had a couple of mistakes on the offensive end. They, especially in the first quarter, 2 guys in the stopper's box. Just being in the stopper's box at all was a problem. You're not allowed to do that. You need to be around it. Shoving guys into the tramps, which was then why is that a foul? Well, because if you as a defensive player make contact that forces an offensive player into the tramps, that's a foul. And that's something they were making the mistake with. But an incredible work for them to come back during the third quarter where they were down 45-30 and make this game as close as it ended up being. They were incredibly aggressive on defense. Howard hit a 4-pointer from the perimeter that really brought it back for them to make them only down by 7. And just they got almost anything they wanted, the Buzz. Their offense was its best in this game when it was run and gun. They got pretty much anything they wanted at the opposition rim just going at Nathan Karstjens underneath the hoop. That's what was proving to be effective for them in the last quarter. Now, what happens there? He gets sat in the fourth quarter as Nathan Karstjens, and Amir Smith moves to the moves into the stopper position, which changes the dynamic of who you're going at. It puts a body there who maybe is less physically beaten up because they've not had to get challenged at the rim as much. The Slashers, we talked about the Buzz need to improve on their offense. The Slashers' defense needs to continue to improve as it has been doing. And they had some aggressive, high-up perimeter defense that totally disrupted the Buzz's offense in the half court. Like I mentioned earlier, especially in the fourth quarter, fast breaks, you're not stopping the Buzz. They were getting whatever they wanted there. But in half-court offensive sets, they had no way of getting past this perimeter defense. And then Karstjens or Smith, whoever was underneath the basket. And Smith being implemented as the stopper position was really good because for the second time this season, the Slashers game has come down to the wire. It's come down to them needing to get a block to stop things. And Jamal Barnes Jr. drives straight at Amir Smith with 25 seconds left in the game. They're down by 4. It's 56-60 in favor of the Slashers, and Jamal Barnes Jr. goes, I need to win us this game. I'm going straight at the hoop. I'm getting us 3 points. We'll worry about the rest after. And Amir Smith comes up with the cleanest and biggest block of the season. 2 hands straight in the air, 1 hand all on ball. Spills out. Terrell Howard gets it, but he gets trapped in the corner by, again, great perimeter defense from the Slashers. He can't get a comfortable shot off. They need a 4 to tie it, and he can't get it to go. Poor late game execution, you could ask that question. I just think this was a really good defensive execution from the Slashers and something you would have liked to see them continue to do in the main event. Credit to both these teams for getting this far. Credit to the Slashers for getting through with strong defense. The Buzzsaw, I don't think it's a secret. I think they could get mad at me if they want. I think they could get mad at Coach Bear if they want, because I'm not the only one saying this. Their offense needs to improve for next season, and I think everyone as a SlamBall fan is excited to see that happen because you see the pieces. You see Jamal Barnes Jr., and Malik Abdul-Haq, and Ralph Bellamy, and Terrell Howard, and Devontae Pratt, and you see Ty Scott underneath the basket, and you see their physicality defensively, and you want them to improve on the offensive end in order to balance that. Slashers, we'll talk about them more in the main event, but again, credit to Tony Crosby II as a first option, but then credit to their offense for improving and developing as the season went on. Distribution from Brad Laubacker, Alonzo Scott Jr., Amir Smith getting to play offense because Nathan Karstjens has improved so much as a stopper. Great play from all these guys. Good job for the Slashers on getting through. Probably the second most entertaining match all season. Why second? Well, because the other semi-final match, which was our second match of the night, Mob Lava, it ended 49-36 for the Mob, but that is not an indicator of how close this was. This is probably the closest match the Mob had for the first half all season. The Lava came out swinging. We talked about earlier this week about it's not a sure thing, but if you come out gunning in the first quarter and you get some type of lead, you're more likely to maintain that going forward, I feel. If you've got a high attitude and energy in the first quarter, I think that is a good setup for the rest of the game. You just need to maintain it. Now, Shockley at times was destroying Gage Smith under the basket. Bryce Moraine as just an offensive threat. Anytime he was driving to the basket, Gage had to think about it, and then that meant they could set up a play from the island because he was already into his defensive set without really realizing that there were cutters coming from either side. Smart plays, but also going right at Gage Smith, just like Coach Bear mentioned on Tuesday. That he wanted to see guys just going at Gage, getting really physical with him in the air and seeing what happened. And the offense from the Lava was really good at points in this game. Really good set plays, really aggressive driving. Jihad Shockley with like the longest arms in the league by the looks of things, go gadgeting over like Gage Smith at points to like get from a dive cut after a like switch on a baseline wing cut. Just really big length to get them in. One of them got blocked pretty impressively, but there were some that just went straight down. The offense was great throughout. Their defense was aggressive at some points, and I think that was the bigger thing. They were not afraid to put mob players on their ass and say, we're not scared. They may have given up some violation points because of that, but at a certain point, is that not worth it to show a team that you're not afraid of them, that you're going to put them on their backside and say, come and beat us, you know? And I think that was really impressive play from them defensively when you're not expecting that necessarily from this team. Diving on every loose ball, because if you get a tie-up, the ball immediately goes to the defense. So they were just getting involved in everything, constantly going after whatever they could get. Great job from the Lava defense. Maybe this, and in addition to that, is obviously Faisal Shafat. He made a case in this game that, you know, I wasn't on Team of the Year. I wasn't Defensive Player of the Year. No one has given me the credit I deserve. Sam did. Sam said DPOY for you. Just terrifying the mob offense at points. Even if they got past that perimeter defense, here comes Fessy. There's points where he was just above guys taking the ball out of their hands. You know, 10 stops, 8 LBRs, a good game for him even if it wasn't a loss. He's really showed that he is a big part of this game, and obviously making a case for second best stopper. I think I've been saying all year he's top 4 minimum, and for sure this is like a proving ground has been this semi-final match. How did the Lava get there? Well, his defense was a part of it. How did they get an opportunity to win this early on? His defense was a big part of it. Credit to Fessy. I think what let the Lava down, and if Coach Carlson, you're listening, I'm so sorry that I'm going to mention this because I know that you were screaming about it late in the game. The Lava had their worst game in terms of turnovers all season. Now, I think part of that comes with Gage Smith's disruption ability and the fact that in the third quarter, he turned into a beast. He took over this game in the third and really proved a point that, like, I am the guy you need to be worried about. I am the MVP. I am the Defensive Player of the Year. You have to get past me if you want anything in this league. And Gage was proving that in the third quarter. And I think that overall, stuff like that is what led to the Lava having 23 turnovers in the game. What I should really do is compare that to their overall possessions, but in SlamBall so far this season, teams have been averaging like mid-40s, like between 43 and 47 possessions per game. 23 turnovers in that space of time is not a great look for the Lava. That was their worst offensive like turnover set by all season of at least 5. 5 was their 18 was their next worst. Some of them was Gage's deterrent. I think a lot of them were, but it isn't deterrent in the same way it's deterrent other teams. Other teams see Gage coming and they just bottle the shot, or they see Gage coming and they just throw it off the wall and reset the play. What the Lava were doing was trying to continue the offensive set while being disrupted by the best stopper in this league, best player in this league, and they were getting disrupted in the bottom tramp and trying to pass the ball out to a teammate. And that's where the turnovers were coming from, because they're not comfortable. They're trying to make an extra pass. They're trying to get the ball to someone who can facilitate and try and get a score, rather than just reset the play and run something again. And I think that's where the majority of these turnovers came from. Now, the player of the game, the player of the MVP, and he proved it in this game, was Gage Smith, because you can take a punch in the mouth from a team. It's how you respond that changes things. And he was getting dunked on. He was absolutely getting yammed on at times. His team weren't playing as well as they wanted to, as they had done all season. It was a close game. I think it was a 7-point lead for the Mob at the end of the first quarter. What do you need to prove that you're the better team? You need a monster performance from your best player. And the box score doesn't show it. I think like he ended this game with 7 stops, 6 LBRs, and 2 steals. That's like for him, that's kind of pedestrian. That's a good stopper game. It's not a great stopper game. And it doesn't give you like, go back and watch this game, because there's points where he's pulling like insane blocks, like so aggressive, and just like, you get out of here. This is my rim. Go away. And just wildly impressive game from Gage Smith. And it's like that play we've talked about, that translates to transition offense. We talked about the Buzz getting whatever they wanted in transition. The Mob are even better at that. Get out of the way, Faisal Shafat. Like, he can do a lot. He can do a lot to disrupt an offense, but not when you've got multiple guys running at you full pelt, full court, not going for anything fancy, just straight at the rim. Like, Craig Skismus was asking for this earlier in the season. Why aren't there more guys using the top tramp? They are. They're just doing it in a, Cam Horton had runs where I was like, that's certainly a travel. And then he just flew over, and like Shafat was like, I can't get to that in time. Dak Clark had the same. Brandon Simpson, I talked about him. He was one of my picks for an all-star preseason. And even if he doesn't make that, he's a big body and he's flying at you. Jordan Jones, shout out to this man who got taken off the taxi squad because Cam Hollins was actually hurt for the Mob last night. And Jordan Jones, he got thrown into this, I don't know when he joined the team, I would guess in the last couple of days. And he wasn't necessarily part of all the offensive sets, but he contributed. Good job for Jordan Jones. I like Jordan Jones. Whenever I see him, I'm just like, hey, it's Jordan Jones. Jordan Jones and Ryan Johnson are my two favourite taxi squad guys, because they've got names that are almost like generic. They're like your 2K generic players, and they both have like kind of unique looks for everyone else in the league, and they just appear. You're just like, oh, it's Jordan Jones. There's no name on the back of that guy's jersey, but that's Jordan Jones. Let's see what he can do. So shout out to Jordan Jones. Biggest shout out, obviously, I need to reiterate, Gage Smith is the best player in SlamBall, right? Because Marshawn Lynch back on the call for this. Des Bryant, also an NFL player, was put on the call at one point. The two of them were having so much fun. And it's bad from like a legitimacy of the sport perspective to a degree, but it's so good in terms of people having fun with SlamBall. And if they want to be the entertainmentification of sport, things like this really go a long way to that, right? In terms of, this is sports, but you're going to be entertained more than you're going to get analytical about it. I'm going to get analytical about it. You're watching this. You want to get analytical about it. The crowd in the arenas don't need to. The coaches need to. The players need to. The nerds need to. Not everyone needs to take this sport at an analytical framework. You can just go, wow, big dunk, wow, big hit. And we had a lot of that last night. And part of that comes from characters like Marshawn Lynch lending themselves to this game. Now, how much did he get bleeped? Probably not enough. How much was he referencing things that were going over John Shriffin's head that he was like, what's that? Never mind, let's not deal with that. He mentioned Zaza, not Pachulia, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on this, but like, he mentioned Zaza in the game. That's crazy. And Des Bryant was like, you said what? And that, But strip away all the fun. Marshawn Lynch is an NFL legend, right? He is a known legend in the game of football. And going into the fourth, I cannot believe this happened on a national broadcast, right? This isn't a negative. The tone I'm taking sounds negative. The tone I want is it's impactful. Marshawn Lynch, NFL legend, great. Guy who gets looked up to. Guy who's a hero to hundreds of thousands of people. He goes up to Gage Smith, right? The MVP of this league. I talked about, should Gage get MVP and DPOY, or should we split it up so that more faces get seen? And Craig Skistimus on This Week in SlamBall said, no, he's the best player. You tout him as the best player. You build him up. He is your MVP. That's the guy, and that's what you measure by, right? That's what he was talking about. Marshawn Lynch went up to Gage Smith and said, it's an honor to fucking meet you. That's a massive endorsement. I got chills saying that right now. Imagine being the guy that said about, and then continuing to have the game of your life, and then winning a championship after this amazing game you've had. That's like, and if anyone's like, he shouldn't be saying that, he's on commentary, shut up. Like, Marshawn Lynch is just giving the biggest ringing endorsement he can. And if this isn't like, do a fake movie poster of Gage Smith MVP, quote, 5-star Marshawn Lynch, it's an honor to fucking meet you. That's such an endorsement of this guy, of this sport, that guys like Marshawn Lynch, Des Bryant as well on commentary, like, all these guys are going, this is legit. These guys are hard as hell. These are athletes. And the main guy, it's an honor to fucking meet him because he's a beast. Now, am I saying that a lot because it's a fun quote to say? Yes. Am I saying it a lot because it's a massive impact on this game? Yes. Am I saying it because I think a lot of people at home will love hearing a Scottish guy say the F word? 100%. That's probably the best game all season. And I think when I get home tonight after work, even while I'm at work, screw it, I'm rewatching this game again because that was incredible, man. That was incredible. The main event, I barely took notes for this, and that's just me being honest. The Mob, they were up 27-6 after quarter one. The Slashers' offense was still getting them scores here and there. That double wing cut, bottom tramp, alley-oop, high alley. It was getting points over Gage to a certain degree. But the Mob started with 9 unanswered points, the first of which being a massive yam from Cam Horton straight onto Nathan Karstjens. That sets the tone of, we're not afraid of your 6'6" big man stopper. We're going right at him. We're killing him. We're going straight through him. We don't care about his size. We're going to have a go at him. Amir Smith ends up getting moved to stopper really early in this game, which I don't think is ideal. That limits your offensive output. So now instead of having, 4 guys that are all potential offensive threats coming off cuts, and you can rest one of them and you can bring them in and out, it's now just Crosby, Laubacher, and Scott, and Crosby can maybe even get double teamed at that point. It's a lot. Their defense definitely calmed down in the second quarter, but 21 point being down 21 points after the first quarter, too little, too late to start to get into the game. The Mob, I think, learned from the previous game where the Lava came out and swung first, and the Mob were like, we're swinging first, second, and third. We're going hard, we're going fast, we're getting you defensively, we're going at you offensively. We are not letting it be doubted. This is our championship, right? They took a punch in the mouth, and they came out swinging in their next fight, and it proved them right. Credit to the Slashers getting this far. Their offense, like I say, is one of the hardest to guard in the league. They just need to get their consistency down with it. And Gage Smith did a good job of disrupting it at points. The biggest takeaway the biggest takeaway of the night, genuinely, if you're a fan of this league, if you want to succeed, you should be shouting from the rooftops that Marshawn Lynch quote about Gage Smith. That is the biggest thing that happened last night. The Mob won the championship. Some people have been calling that since week one. The Buzz, the Slashers, and the Lava all showed why they got this far and played amazing games. The Mob proved that there was nothing in doubt. That Marshawn Lynch quote is the biggest thing that happened last night. End of, right? That's just end of. That's the case. Gage Smith said post-game, it isn't one player, it's the whole team. And that's true, but you're the guy now. Part of that is, he's special. He is now the benchmark for greatness within the sport of SlamBall. That is what Gage Smith is going forward with this new era. Will he continue it next season? Will he continue it during any tournaments that we have between now and then? I feel comfortable just putting that out there. The league is hoping to have 1 or 2 tournaments. Don't know if they're going to be televised. Don't know what the details of them are. Don't know if it's truncated teams. Don't know any of it. But PR has told me that. They've not got anything they can announce yet, or else they would have announced it last night, like they announced the fact that Summer Series 7 is coming back to ESPN next year. But I'm not just saying that, and the PR can get mad at me if they want, but one of your members of the board is also telling fan accounts that. So I'm not the only person saying that now. It's out there to the general public's use, apparently. So hopefully 1 or 2 tournaments between now and then, which is great. I just wish that it had been ironed out before the end of the season so that you could announce those. You could say, come back to, we'll be on ESPN Plus later this year. We're going to be in Florida. We're doing a tournament. It'll be 1 week. There's only 3 teams involved, whatever it might be. It is a team thing. The Mob are team first. But Gage Smith, you're the man of this league. Last night proved it. The Mob had a great series. An undefeated season is a good thing. I think going forward, we talked about this in ad nauseum over the last couple of weeks. Every single team that played SlamBall this year, every player, I credit you with putting your bodies on the line, learning a new sport, taking criticism from myself, being on ESPN and going out and doing the thing. And I cannot wait to see almost all of you next year. As my alarm goes off because I'm late for work. somebody punch the mob in the mouth next year. I'm not meaning physically. Tony Crosby II tried it in last night's main event. He went low and under Dak Clark, and that was scary. If you haven't seen that clip, that was a crazy hit. That was dangerous. That was crazy, but cool. Like, I'm not endorsing it, but it was cool, alright? Don't do it again, but we've had it once, it's cool. Don't literally punch him in the face. I need a team to hit them as hard as the lava hit them in that semi every single night. And you need to maintain that momentum, you need to be comfortable. They are beatable. Not this year. This year, the Mob are your 2023 Summer Season 6 SlamBall champions. Their first championship in a full season. Their 4th title overall. The Mob are the winningest franchise in the league. Get your jerseys. If they release player ones, sell Gage Smith jerseys out. He is the guy. And I think we'll have some fun talking about hypotheticals involving him as the off-season goes on. But look, I just want to say thank you again for everyone who's listened to one of these episodes and endorsed me as a guy who knows what I'm talking about and who cares about this thing. Thank you for enjoying SlamBall. Like, I'm not here if SlamBall's not here. SlamBall's not here if there aren't a viewership and if there isn't people who want it to be around. Continue to support the team. Continue to support the players with social media. A lot of them love to get engaged. I'm hopefully going to get some more interviews as the off-season goes on. We've got a year now to wait until it comes back in earnest. Hopefully these tournaments are things that I can get, like, hopefully they'll be broadcast and we can watch them and it won't just be like in a particular location thing. SlamBall is awesome and it's been awesome covering it, and that's like the end of sentence. SlamBall is awesome. This sport can go to amazing heights. Last night was the best action we've had all season. 2 amazing semi-finals and a final that showed the dominance of the Mob while also, like, you know, it was a 72-44 win for them. I don't think I mentioned that. It was a big win for them. But they also had some incredible dunks throughout the game. Tony Crosby II showed out as a star. I love talking about this sport. Please continue to support Bounce Off as you continue to support the league. Please keep talking to me about it on social media. If you have any questions, hit me up. If you just want to talk hypotheticals, hit me up. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Thank you for watching SlamBall. Thank you for watching Bounce Off. Have a beautiful rest of your day. We should have more content coming next week, including some big interviews, but we'll see where that goes. This has been a blessing. And I don't usually say things like that, but I don't know how to end this out. It's been a great first season. I'll see you next year at minimum, but I should see you before then. Bounce Off out. Is that how we do it?